Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to open the Howell Township Council Workshop meeting January 20th, 2009. The time is about 6:34. Can't see that far without my glasses. Ms. Woman, will you please read the opening statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 2, 2009, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for publication on January 2, 2009, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 2, 2009. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with 3 emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows: upon exiting the meeting room, to the rear, there to immediate left and immediate right, and at the front of the meeting room at the left of the dais. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77. Roll call: Mrs. Clark?
Here.
Mrs. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Mayor Walsh?
Here. At this time, I believe we have reason to go into executive. Is that correct, Ms. Schlegel?
That's correct, Mayor. Contract negotiations, Labor Council, COA Planner, TWU, Personnel, and Litigation, Hurley Property.
Okay. Ms. Woman, will you please read the appropriate statement?
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12, whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items as previously announced, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstances under which a discussion conducted in an executive session will be disclosed to the public. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. For the benefit of the public, we'll reconvene at approximately 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then. I'd like to reopen the meeting, January 20th, to the Howell Township Council Workshop meeting. Can we all please stand for the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would all please stand for one moment in silent observation for our troops all over the world, that they may get home safely to their families. Me personally, I will pray. Change those name tags.
I was thinking already, wow.
Okay, first order of business, acceptance of minutes for December 2nd, 2008, December 9th, December 16th, and 22nd. Anybody have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I had given Ms. Woolman a couple of corrections. I just had one question on the executive session with respect to the interviews. There were some interviews I did not participate in, and that's not, I wasn't sure if we need to make sure that that's noted in the minutes.
Our attorney?
We'll make note of it.
Okay. Yeah, you know, Ms. Woolman, you know
Yes.
which ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Can she still vote on those minutes?
If you were, if she was was not there for the interviews?
room for a couple
It was just a list. The minutes just talk about who was interviewed. There's no details.
You could vote on it.
Okay.
Okay. I need a motion.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman?
Mrs. Clark?
Abstain.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. On the reports of township officials, why don't we start with you, Councilman Howell?
Mayor, at this time, I'd like to place the name of Louis Memelo for to fill the unexpired term until the November general election for the council seat.
Do I have a second?
So I'll second that.
Anybody like to say anything at all?
I'd just like to thank everybody who submitted their name. It was a very, very talented, sincere, honest, and qualified group of people. And I wish that everyone who did not get selected continue their interest in willing to serve the community. And I thank them for even making the attempt.
Anybody else? I'd like to also say that I really do appreciate people willing to stand up and give of themselves for the community. It was a very talented group of people, and a lot would have fit the mold that I would think of to be a council person, and could have been up here and done a good job for the people of Howell Township. We were caught with the task of only appointing one, and I wish everybody who did apply did stay active in the town. I know a lot of them already are active on different boards, and they serve the town admirably in those boards that they're on. With that, can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clark?
Abstain.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Okay, with that, we need a township attorney. Mr. Memler down in front, be sworn in for the unexpired term. Mr. Memler, congratulations, sir. Should have thought beforehand.
Mrs.
Yeah, get somebody to hold.
Mrs.
Ms. Memelo, maybe you want to hold the Bible?
No?
Yeah, the whole family standing.
Come on, Mayor.
I
I, Louis Memelo,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the government established of the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will impartially
I will impartially
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties
all of the duties
of the office of councilman
of the office of councilman
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
You all ready?
Come on up, look.
Let's go.
You leaving already?
Let's go. Congratulations. God bless.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Just for the moment, I would just like to acknowledge Mayor Walsh, Deputy Mayor Dalton, Councilwoman Schroeder Clark, and Councilman Howell for this wonderful opportunity to represent the people of Howell. I understand, and fully do charge that this seat is just temporary, and being a resident of Howell Township for 30 years, it's a great opportunity. I've lived here for since 1978 when my wife Mary, my son Louis, and his wife Michelle, who are going to bless us with a child this year. And Mary and I are looking to be proud grandparents. And I have my brother-in-law Donald with us. And this is a really a proud moment, not just for myself, but for the whole country, because today, if everybody noticed it and you couldn't miss it, that everybody's walking around proud. They're really actually standing up straight. Whether you voted for the individual or not, it's just a proud moment. It's a change in the government, it's a change in the movement, and that individual is responsible for fixing our economy, keeping us safe, and we have the same issues in our town here. So I tell you, to the residents, that I will do everything possibly in my power to work along your elected officials to do what's right for this year. Thank you for the opportunity.
Me personally, I'm feeling a little bit ashamed today. That's why I'm wearing this jersey. For those that don't know, the mayor of Upper Field is a diehard Philadelphia Eagle fan, and I'm a New York Giant fan. And as we had a friendly wager, and last Thursday night I had to deliver pastries and coffee to a council person's house in Upper Field Township. There were no citizens at the meeting. And I did that last Thursday. And now tonight I have to wear this shirt in the meeting. I also have my Philadelphia Eagle tie. I want it on TV for the record. And Walsh 00. For the amount of Giant victories against the Eagles this year in the Meadowlands. 2 games, 0 victories. This shirt will go in Chairman of the Planning Board Estevez's chimenea on Super Bowl Sunday, never to be worn again.
I got the lighter flu.
So, now to get down to business. Let's look at consent agenda items.
Mayor, can we just finish reports of officials?
Oh, we have more we want to do.
I believe so.
Ms. Schlegel, feel free.
Has council finished with their reports? Okay. I'd like to announce that our MIS department has made arrangements with Grandview Cable to show our meetings. So it may not happen for 4 to 6 weeks, but it will happen. You're welcome.
So then they'll be able to be seen in the villages, is that correct?
That's correct. Anyone that has Grandview Cable, I believe Surrey Downs, some of Surrey Downs has it also. So they will be able to see our meetings.
Very good. Good job, MIS.
Sergeant Mark Kulik is doing and updating the traffic study on Clayton Road. If you remember, I believe it was the last meeting, we had a resident come in and inquire about Clayton Avenue. So he is updating the traffic study, and we will have his recommendation for our February, I believe, 17th meeting. That's it, Mayor.
Okay. For the record, so that some people understand over there by the Clayton Avenue area, we tried to, did the council not vote to make that a one-way?
I believe so.
Okay, and we were told by the state we couldn't do it?
That's correct.
Well, this traffic study, will it enable us to go back to the state, petition them to let us make Clayton Avenue a one-way?
Actually, they just passed a new law. I think it went into effect maybe on January 1, where the municipalities are going to have greater control over their roadways. So with the new law, we may not need their approval. So Sergeant Markulik is handling that.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
Nothing for me, Mayor.
Our barrister,
Nothing, Mayor.
Mr. Filiatro?
Nothing, Mayor.
Ms. Manziata? You can call me Mayor Billy, it's okay. No big deal. Okay, with that, let's go to consent agenda items. Members of the council, I'd like you to, let's look at page 3, let's look at 9B 1 through 5. Anybody want a separate vote on anything? 9B6 to 11, 9B7 is pulled. Was that pulled by your recommendation, Ms. Nunziata?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I ask what the problem is?
Typically, when we release a performance guarantee, we accept a maintenance guarantee. In this case, that hasn't been provided and reviewed and approved by the attorney.
Anybody want a separate vote on anything 9B6 through 9B11? 9B12 through 9B18? For the record, I am a member of Shore Oaks Golf Club. And that is it. Do we want to put in 9C1, 2, 3, and 4? Do we want to put them in?
And 7, Mr. Mayor?
And 7. Okay, and 9B5 we'll do on a separate vote. On 9C5, I'm sorry. And 9C6, I believe we have other applications. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, you're making some appointments, so you really should not do that on consent.
I'm not going to.
Oh, I thought you said to add it, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. No, not 9C5 or 9C6. 9C5 and 9C6 we're going to do separately.
Right, and 9B17 is an appointment.
9B17 is an appointment?
Yes.
I would like 9B17 to be a separate vote. Anybody else? Do I have a motion to accept?
Mayor, we may want to hear the citizens on the consent agenda items before you take that vote.
So we'll go back to that now.
We can do hearing of citizens and then the public comment on the consent agenda items.
Okay. Approximate time is 8:55. 7:55. I would like to open up to the citizens for 1 hour. Public comment on consent agenda items and the hearing of citizens. First name on the list, Lisa Marino.
Hi.
Hello. Would you please state your name and address?
Lisa Marino, 52 Darien Road.
Okay.
Mr. May, I'm here this evening to follow up on my concern about the Windsong Acres Puppy Mill. I had also sent you some information after I had come here the first time, and I wanted to know if that will be a concern or a priority for the council and the mayor in 2009.
783.
We'll be discussing it tonight.
I thank you so much. That's all I want to know. I'll
You're
be
welcome.
here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Dixell.
Good evening, everybody. Barbara Dixell of Villages. Mr. Memolo, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I understand you have a long career in public service to Howell Township as a fireman. I'm sure you'll continue to work for the health, welfare, and safety of every citizen in this town.
Thank you.
Sitting up there is an awesome responsibility.
I'll try to do my best for the residents.
Okay, got lots of stuff tonight, guys.
You have 5 minutes, Mrs. Dixell. Let's cut to the chase.
We'll see. Okay, first of all, we're talking about trees. I know a while ago you heard me say a long time and a lot about trimming the trees on the Exxon station where the sidewalk is, and that goes from the villages to Route 9. It turns out that it's an easement that the township owns. Well, lo and behold, in the last 2 weeks, the trees were cut down to the ground, totally, completely decimated right down to the ground. I took a roll of film today, and I'm going to give them to you. I went into the Exxon station, and the men in the station that work inside, in the office, said that they had that the Howell Township truck that came to cut these trees down had a signed letter from the mayor giving them permission to do this. Is that true?
I can answer that. There's no signed letter from the mayor because the mayor doesn't instruct the personnel. So I have not seen any letter from the mayor. Mayor, you can answer, but I haven't seen any any letter that you signed instructing them to take down trees.
Okay, you do remember me saying, just please trim them so that we can get the sidewalk clear, we can walk on it. You've heard me say that a long time.
I've heard you say it.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you this. You can. Now, I would really want to tell you, I want these trees replaced. I don't care what you people have to do. The township owns the easement. Take a look at this, you'll faint. They're decimated right down to the ground, and all the debris is left.
Give me the whole.
I can't feign, Mrs. Dixell. It's my first meeting.
Well, you know what? We do have laws in this town about clear-cutting trees, and not supposed to do that. And like I said, whoever was driving the truck and cut them down told, this is what they told the guys in the Exxon station.
For the
So,
record, I've signed no such letter, just so
well,
you know.
okay, so now it needs to be looked at, and whoever said that to them needs to be addressed, and the situation needs to be addressed, and these trees need to be replaced. That's number one. Number two, water. Okay. There was just, within the last 2 weeks, there was another public hearing at the Memorial Middle School from New Jersey American Water Company. It seems they want a blank check, and they want to not have to go back to the Board of Public Utilities for another increase. They just want to be able to grant themselves an increase. I am absolutely livid. Unfortunately, I couldn't go that day. I was having surgery. So, this can't go on. The Board of Public Utilities can't just keep giving blanket increases to this water company. We're being raped, literally, run over the coals by this water company. We can't every year and a half, every 2 years. So I am going to name the Board of Public Utilities. I am asking every citizen in Howell Township who has a Jersey American Water Company to write a letter to Jeannie Fox, President, Frederick Butler, Commissioner, Joseph Floracio, Commissioner, Nicholas Salta, Commissioner, Elizabeth Randall, Commissioner. Write these people letters, every one of them. Tell them that you hope they have sleepless nights and guilty consciences for what they're doing to us. We can't pay our bills, we can't eat, we live on Social Security. How do we live if they keep giving these company blanket raises? And I'm also asking publicly and openly, I am personally asking Governor Corzine to step in now.
Excuse me, Mayor, there's 1 minute remaining for Mrs. Dixell's time.
Thank you. I'm asking Governor Corzine to step in and take over this water company and run it from the state. They can't keep giving us raises every 2 years. The Board of Public Utilities has to stop giving them a blank check. RWE from Europe, their former owner, said they dump a bad investment, and that was done in 2005. Water Watch, Food and Water Watch, a magazine, said it would take 200 years for New Jersey American Water Company to fix its system, and because of their leaks and the lack of investments. I'm sorry, it has to stop. The state has to come in and run this water company. We need a break. Also, I'm going to say something about schools. Somebody approached me, one of the old citizens of Howell approached me at your swearing in, and asked me to say something, and I'm going to say it. I think it's my personal opinion, I hope it's others also, that Howell Township's enrollment is dropping. We're down in the 7,000 range.
Mayor, that's been 5 minutes.
We have empty classrooms, and Memorial Middle School is half empty. I would like the township to think about joint effort in maintenance and other things. I would hope the Board of Education would decide to get real and get rid of some vice presidents, and we don't need a nurse in every school. and the Memorial Middle School can be sold. If we need to save millions, we need to save millions. The Howell Board of Education, the Howell Board of Ed needs a reality check, and I do hope that people will run for the board. Their applications are due in by March. Howell Board of Ed needs to get real, and they need to save us millions, because they're taking us broke also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Dennis Dixon.
Yes, sir. My name's
Name and address, please.
My name's Dennis Dixon. I'm not a resident of Howell. I have a business in Howell at 8 Ramtown Greenville Road. The business is the Hungry Quail Restaurant. Later this evening, you will be discussing special conditions that were placed on the license. As a background, a number of years back, we had made the attempt to move our license, liquor license.
Can you pull the
You're gonna
microphone
have to
closer?
speak up.
We made an attempt to move our liquor license into the Quail Creek Shopping Center as part of our build-out for the restaurant. At that time, there was numerous concerns from the public concerning the transfer of that license and what we were truly intending to do. We had always said that we would be building a family-oriented restaurant. However, some of the contention from some of the members of the governing board at that time believed we were going to build a biker bar. This was never our intent. As a result, the governing body denied that transfer. The concerns that were voiced by the people of the community, they were valid concerns. There was no doubt about that, for the most part. However, we did not feel it rose to the level whereby that license should have been denied the transfer. The zoning was correct. It was approved use for the zone. There was no negative history associated with that license. Many of the concerns was based on another operation that was out there maybe 15 years ago. We ultimately appealed to the state of New Jersey. We had a hearing in front of Judge Goldberg. At that time, he decided that there really was no basis in law that we should not be able to have our license there. However, he did invoke a set of special conditions. However, he said, once I build this restaurant, and if we can prove that we are good citizens and we were delivering what we were supposed to deliver, we could then approach council to have those restrictions either modified or vacated entirely. And that's what we are requesting. If you take a look at, I know I'm running out of time, the restrictions, the hours of operation, we stop the service of alcohol at 11 o'clock on weekdays, 1 a.m. on weekends. These are our normal hours of operation. We would not want to change that. However, there has been numerous instances where we would have liked to have stayed open, whether it be where we're having community meetings over at the school, they're getting out late, we get groups of parents in there wanting to have dinner, wanting to have a drink or two after a meeting. We have to tell them, no, we're sorry, we have to close at 11. Just this last Tuesday, the Tuesday night before Christmas Eve, you would never expect a restaurant to be extremely busy. We were still serving meals at 10:30. We had to stop the service of alcohol at 11. We had a full restaurant, and these are all local people. We don't go outside the community. We only draw within a 2-mile, 2.5-mile radius. So we would ask that we could have some leeway or at least some judgment in that area. Other things, restrictions that were placed on the license, do nothing to encourage smoking outside. We totally complied with that. We placed the sign. When we painted the murals on the inside of the restaurant, we had our artists paint that at the exit.
Excuse me, Mayor, Mr. Dixon has 1 minute remaining.
We de-emphasize the fact we run a bar. We don't do that. It doesn't show up in our signage that we have a bar. There's various things here, and we've complied with all of them. And I would like to request that we look at the sanity of these restrictions based upon what we have done. We sponsor youth teams. We sponsor one of the municipal department softball teams. We donate to every cause. I don't believe there has been one trouble call associated with our location. To the best of my knowledge, I have no complaints from residents. I don't know these things, but I believe this to be true. So I would ask your consideration of this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
John Costigan. Good evening, Mr. Costigan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council. Good luck to you, Ms. Malolo. I'm sure you'll do a fine job.
Thank you.
As Mrs. Dixell said, you'll continue your service to the community.
Thank you.
Just down and dirty and quick. I forwarded an email that I received from Amanda Brockwell from the Monmouth County Ag Board today. So I just want to, we've gotten the green light on one of the farms that we're looking to preserve. It's the next farm that we would be preserving. However, we're going to have to probably amend or do a little bit of work on the report we gave to the state in November of 2007. They want some more work done on it. I know Bursell Engineering initially did the work, and we have a little bit of time, but not a lot. So I'm just hoping that we can do something to get that done. I know Bursell also did Marlboro's work at the same time that they did our report in 2007, and they have already completed their readjustments that the state asked about that. Now, I don't have a copy of those requests from the state. I'm trying to get a copy. But I'm hoping that we can do something in the near future so that we can start preserving farms.
Ms. Slagle, could you reply to that?
There's an issue of funds. I believe the request was for $15,000 additional to update this report. I don't know if Jeffrey saw that. Did you? I don't know if that letter came across your desk. So we're looking at the available funds at this time.
Right.
Okay, I know we have discussed in the past, looking into amending that ordinance where we have millions of dollars sitting in the bank losing interest for us right now. Are we progressing with that?
That's going to be on for discussion. We're looking at the bond ordinance right now.
Because am I correct, we have about $5 million sitting in the bank, Mr. Filiaccio, that was bonded for approximately 2.5 years ago,
Yes, we do.
and we're losing interest on it now.
No, it's invested.
What?
It is invested.
But compared to what we're paying on it, are we losing net compared to what we're paying? Wasn't like a 4.4% bond we floated
Yes,
some years ago?
it is.
And what are we getting now in interest on that
But
money?
it was not borrowed with the intention of making money on
No,
investments.
no, I'm not blaming
You know.
blaming nobody here for why it's losing money. The interest rate climate's down, and we have money sitting there that we're paying more on it than what we're getting. Is that correct?
Yes, we are.
I'm not blaming nobody here for that. But we have addressed
Okay.
with the manager, and the governing body will be discussing it and looking to see what we could do about making sure that some money is available to try to preserve some farms, Mr. Costigan.
Okay.
Mayor, excuse me, I believe that we will have it ready for the February 3rd meeting to discuss.
Okay. With that, could you make sure we all have copies of those reports that Mr. Costigan's speaking about? Any update from Birdsall about what was needed, so...
Sure, I
time
can
to
give you
review it?
their estimate.
Anybody else like to comment on this?
My only other question then is, do we have copies of what the state sent on what they want redone?
I'll look in the file for
Okay,
you.
because I don't know that I have a copy. I can call the state tomorrow and get it faxed.
Why don't you call my office first?
Okay. All right, because then, you know what? It can't be that hard. I'm not an engineer, but you know what? I could probably get a few people with Preservation Task Force and maybe get some of the work done for free, you know? I don't know what it is.
I
but
don't
mean-
know if we could receive the specifics, but let me check the file. I don't recall that coming across my desk. I recall just a letter, but not the specifics of
Yeah.
what they needed.
And I don't think I did either. Okay, that's fine. I'll call tomorrow, and I thank you very much.
And we'll look into it, Mr. Scott. Thank you. Albert Hurley. Good evening, Mr. Hurley. How you doing, Al?
Okay. My name is Albert Hurley, 264 White Street, Howell. And Lou, congratulations. I had a pleasure working with you for many years with the Fire Service.
Yeah, we've been in a few buildings ourselves.
Yes. Okay, my question is, I read in the paper, and I'm trying to get it from the horse's mouth, that a piece of property owned by AST on White Street, Route 9 at Conover, is to have a large section of houses built. Is this correct?
Anybody want to say anything before I speak?
For one thing, the paper said the 118 units, which we knew was going to be approved, through the lawsuit we had, we knew about this. And we recently found some information, another 102 units is possible on the back 17 acres, which is the property the township was going to buy, and they didn't have the money. However, the last time that we knew about it, and I've been checking with the planning board and zoning board, that's still a 2-acre zone. So I don't know how more houses could be built back there. If so, that's what I'm asking you.
Okay. I will explain it to you. I'm writing a letter right now to the editor and to the newspapers. What happened was this. There was an agreement made approximately 2.5 years ago with AST Development. As you know, it came from a long, prolonged
Yes.
lawsuit having to do with the memorandum of understanding, and the builder was going to build 350 homes there. The agreement at that time was that 118 townhomes would be built on the front, of which 18 would be affordable units and 100 would be regular market rate units. The township also at that time agreed to buy the back, I don't know whether it's exactly 17 acres, for the market price. It was done through 2 appraisals, and if we didn't agree, another one would be done. That was all settled. It was going to cost us, I believe, about $1.6 million to buy the back piece. Then came the round 3 affordable housing obligation from the state, which none of us knew anything about at the time. And Howell Township, I believe, was assessed with over 900 affordable homes to be built. Over 900. If we had let them be built the normal way, 3,600 market rate homes would have been built for 900 affordable units. Because in this new round of affordable housing, it's 4 for 1. So we would have had to have allowed 4,500 new homes to be built. That would have been catastrophic to the infrastructure and the economic viability of our tax rate here in Howell Township. A committee was put together. On that committee were 2 members of the governing body, Councilman Howell and myself, 2 members of the planning board, Chairman Estevez and the chair of the Master Plan Subcommittee, Curtis Vislaki, the affordable housing attorney, the affordable housing planner, the engineers were involved, the town manager. And we had to come up with a plan or suggestions for a plan that would minimize the impact in Howell Township to the taxpayers overall. There were open hearings back in November, I believe. I think it was in October, November, there were 2 or 3 open public hearings. Okay, all those suggestions from people and from different concepts were brought back, and the subcommittee of those 9 or 10 people made the suggestions. The planning board voted on those suggestions and voted unanimously. The governing body at the time, when Mayor DeBella was up here, voted unanimously also to accept those suggestions. Okay? Understand, we did not want for one home to be built. This was a mandate by the state to build over 900 affordable homes. And we had to come up with a plan that would have the least impact on the taxpayers of Howell Township as a whole. In these tough economic times, we had to make some very tough decisions, and in my eyes, it was the difference between a bad decision and a bad decision. But they had to be made. Yes, there will be 102 more homes built on the back piece of White Street. Of the Rubenstein Egg Farm. The builder agreed to build 42 affordable for 60 extra market rate units. Under most scenarios, to build 42 affordable units, we would have allowed 168 market rate units to be built, 4 for 1. The governing body, the planning board, and the subcommittee all thought that it was the best of many bad ideas. We thought they were all bad ideas, but the least impact on the taxpayers of Howell Township were to let an extra 102 be built there and save the taxpayers of Howell Township in excess of $1.5 million that we were going to have to pay for that back piece. So the answer is yes, it was approved. Okay, some concessions have already come from the builder. Instead of them being 3-story, they will be 2-story. The builder will work to have buffers put in that far exceed our requirements. But we had to look at something based on what was best for the township overall. And understand, we did not want to build one. Not one. It is an unfair mandate from the state coming down to municipalities. And to add insult, they just turned around and decided to give a 1-year moratorium to builders that they don't have to pay the 2.5% of their commercial construction costs into our affordable housing. So if a builder builds a $10 million project, they would have had to put $250,000 into our affordable housing trust. Now they don't even have to. Now, they didn't take away the affordable units that we are allotted in round 3 of our affordable housing obligation. So they didn't give us no break there, but they said the builders don't have to put the money in to pay for it. So the answer is yes, it was approved. It was a long, drawn-out process. It was hundreds of hours by our professionals. It was hundreds of hours by citizens that are on the committees, and we did make that decision. And I did make that decision. I voted for it, and I would vote for it again. And still, I do not want one to be built. There are other affordable housing going in my backyard, not far from my house, within a half mile. And I'm not happy about that, okay? But I accept the planning board's decision there, and we're stuck with what we are with affordable housing, okay? None of us
Is
like
this
it.
through COA? Is this because of COA's obligations?
Absolutely, 100%, because our affordable housing obligation is over 900 affordable homes that have to be built in Howell Township.
I was
in
under the
round 3.
assumption that COA was only applicable to the houses to be built. If you built 50 houses, they had a certain amount. I mean, they can dictate to a township how many houses you can build, whether you want to or not?
We were assigned a number by the state. We had no say in the final number. We put input into what we thought it should be. The final number came from the state, and we were told, you must come up with a plan by December 31st of 2008 and submit it to Trenton to see if it's accepted. A lot of work was put in, a plan was drawn up to have the least impact on the tax rate and the infrastructure of Howell Township. And again, we wanted none, understand this, we wanted none to be built. Whatever happened to the American way of life when you worked hard, you saved money, and you bought a home? It's no longer there. We're being told what we have to do. And I'm not against affordable housing and the concept of it. But I know my parents had no money when they were young. They worked hard, they saved money, and bought a no money down VA home for $19,900 in Manalapan in 1965. Okay? This is what's thrust upon us. It was a joint effort from a subcommittee. The planning board voted on the recommendations from that subcommittee, and the governing body voted on the recommendations for that subcommittee. I believe it was unanimous on the planning board. It was unanimous on the governing body.
When we brought the subject to the attention, approximately 2004, I guess, the first light came about on this. And at that time, there was a big discussion on traffic impact of Route 9, at which I remember you stating that you was hung up in traffic. Nothing's changed since then, Bob. Traffic's bad. The area which they're talking about building is actually where the water comes down off the hills from around there is where the water goes, and that's what keeps our wells full. I mean, there's people in Freeway Acres and my area that this is water retention area. That's what keeps our wells going. When the big gravel pit behind me on White Street, which is Naharm's Pinnacle, when they dug all that out, a lot of wells went dry, including mine. What's this going to do now with them building over there? And it didn't change anything with traffic flow. If not, it's going to make it worse.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but these are things that have to be brought up. None of these issues weren't brought up in the meetings about these concerns, okay?
What do you mean? The meetings just recently talked about.
In October and November.
Right, but we as citizens, we rely on you people. We told all this information to relay this. And we all knew, everybody knew about the traffic, including you, about the traffic flow over there. And also what it's doing to White Street. White Street is turned into a gravel road anymore because of the traffic on it. And if you don't believe me, you can go look.
I drive it often, I know.
And because of the Wawa, which we understood. And right now we're told that there's nothing we can do about it. After we had hundreds of people, I mean, you remember it, we had to go to the school because the whole neighborhood doesn't want it there. And why does it have to be dumped all in one spot? I don't understand.
It's not all being dumped on one spot. The neighbors in my neighborhood don't want to see them built on Fairfield Road. The many people came out for the ones being built on Wyckoff Road, okay? Nobody wanted them built anywhere. Neither did the governing body or the planning board. When there's parameters that you have to meet, like being proximity to a highway, to stores, to mass transportation, and you're told you have to build in excess of 900 units, you got to play the hand that's dealt to you from the state. If we had not put a plan together that we thought was defensible at the state, we would have opened this town up to one builder's remedy lawsuit after the next, and it could have been catastrophic. 4,500 more homes could have been built. 4,500. You know what that would do to our infrastructure, our taxes, our schools? We would have had mass development all over in different parts of Howell. I'm not happy with the decision either, but I would make it again tomorrow, okay? I don't want the ones near me, but I would make that decision again tomorrow. When I look at the picture, I have to make a decision that I think is in the best interest of all the citizens of Howell Township. Not me, not you, not anybody in particular. I have to look at it as a whole. Not shocked you're not happy? I'm not happy. Okay? Nobody's happy. This is a horrible mandate by the state that does nothing but put burdens economically and on the infrastructure of the municipalities.
So there's nothing we can do as citizens to stop this. It's a done deal, what you're saying.
It is. If we didn't put a plan together, we would have faced numerous lawsuits. There could have been 400 built there. There could have been 300 built in another spot. 500 built in another spot. There is nothing we could have done but put a plan together that we thought was defensible.
And the 2 acres, as far as that goes, we couldn't do nothing about the 2-acre area. It was zoned 2 acres because it was changed. Because I went to the zoning board, and there's, right now, last I heard, there was nothing changed with zones. And that's how, we all haven't got time to come to these meetings all the time. We have to rely on you people. And the last I heard, there was a lawsuit, and the front half of the property is going to be taken care of, the back was, the township was going to buy. That we understood. But I didn't know about these other meetings, if there was a couple meetings which we knew nothing about, because there's a lot of people out here, and a lot more people could come that knew nothing about these meetings, that what you mentioned.
They were advertised. I'm sorry that you didn't know, but I can tell you right now that I would make the same vote today I did then, even if I listened to 400 people come here. I heard it walking up and down my block how nobody in my development wanted them built on Fairfield Road. Decisions have to be made, and they're not easy. Nobody wants affordable homes built or major construction in their backyard. Nobody does. We thought the concessions on this project, all right, lowered it to 2-story from 3-story. The buffers that they'll put in that the planning board will take care of, okay, would somewhat mitigate the negatives of it. And there are negatives.
Just going to ruin the value of our houses.
I mean, we're all going to have to bite the bullet in this economy in some ways. I don't know what else to say to you other than I did not like making the decision, but I would make the decision again tomorrow. Okay?
If I could just be heard, Mr. Mayor, just a quick question. You had concerns about well, and I just wanted to address that there's a possibility that you could go to the planning board. I just want to make sure I'm correct on this, and address any specific questions or concerns you had when the application is going before the planning board. So you're sitting here and coming before us. I understand your concern, but I would encourage you that to go to the planning board and address these concerns, because they can, and I think would, we be dealt with appropriately at that time.
Well, I thought Bob just said it was passed by the planning board.
Not the plan, not the plan in general in terms of the locations, but the specifics that you're talking about. I think it's would be wonderful for everyone that feels that they have no control, that you do have the ability to address this, and you do have the ability to go and express your concerns and have a part in the process.
I would appreciate that. There's a test well right next to my neighbor's house. And when this first came about, we asked about testing the test well. And I left my name, and nobody ever got back to me. I think that should be done. There's a lot going into this. It's not only the wells, it's the septic systems. And all our Freewood Acres, Freewood Acres, the table's high, the water table's high. If they change this in these fields, what's going to happen to the septics, the sewer, everything? I mean, that's something that should be a consideration, too. I realize if you need these houses, it's got to be put in. Let's put it into an area that's not going to affect all the neighbors, the whole neighborhood. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. God bless you. Mrs. Dixon. It's okay, Mrs. Dixon. David Spitzer, please. State your name and address, Dave, please.
David Spitzner, 197 White Street, Howell. Good evening, everyone. I'm here basically trying to figure this all out myself. I'm a resident of White Street also. And until I saw an article in December, I had no idea this was going on. I had friends that had been involved prior in opposing this whole project that I thought would keep me abreast of anything that was happening. Unfortunately, that didn't take place. At any rate, I mean, Mayor, you yourself earlier this year in the summer, I mean, I approached you at Wawa and asked you what was happening with the back of the Rubenstein farm. And you basically told me, well, what would you like it to be? And I said, I'd like it to remain the same, what it is, 2 acres zoning. And you basically stated, well, that's what it's going to be, you know? And I didn't really think that I had to keep an eye on this. This was a 9-0 vote. You know, back in 2005, was a 9-0 vote to keep it 2 acre zoning, regardless of whether the town bought it or anything. And regardless of any fair share housing plan or anything, how we keep coming back to this piece of property. I mean, we had no objection to what was going on in the front half of this piece of property, but we keep coming back to this rear portion, which currently can only yield 7 houses. And now we've got 102 houses going where 7 houses would go. And this is a recharge area for all the wells in Freewood Acres, all the wells on White Street, we're all well and septic. I mean, there's going to be no total, I mean, there's going to be total coverage of buildings, parking lots, and whatnot. There's going to be no recharge area. I mean, this whole thing is horrendous. I mean, and how it can constantly come back to this property. I mean, even Mayor DeBella said he was trying to entice a food store originally there to get a tax rateable. And that didn't pan out. And then he said the county wanted him to have a town center designated on Route 9. So the builder put a 15-foot by 15-foot gazebo between the entrance and exit of this place and said, well, you can have parades. You can have town functions at this gazebo. It was something you'd have in your backyard. You know, the whole thing is a big sham. And this builder can build this in a depression and make mega bucks with the density that's being allowed in this. I just think ethically this was the wrong thing to do, and I also feel that any notification to the town was probably some obscure little notice in the back of the paper where no one would know. I mean, prior to that, we had publicity, constant publicity. We had 350 people in the auditorium when this vote was taken on this thing. We didn't realize we had to watch over our shoulder constantly at this thing. I'm just, you know, abhorred over the whole thing that's going on with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bisson. For the public, Ms. Woman, was it properly noticed? The meetings at the planning board, or who would have done that? Ms. Capiter?
It was on our website also, on the front page about the hearings.
Okay. Would you please make sure with Ms. Capiter that it was properly noticed?
Absolutely.
Okay. Howard Sherman. Good evening, Howard. Would you state your name and address, please?
Howard Sherman, 348 Conover Street. I remember the whole deal with the egg farm. My neighbor got me involved. I was never in town politics. And in the 9 years I've lived in the house I have, I made some changes, yes. I put a couple horses out back. I work with a lot of handicapped kids. The traffic out on White Street in this 9 years that I've been there went from real easy, that's why I decided to do what I did, to tractor trailers, academy buses. I get roll-offs coming down. I drive a little pickup truck. They can't even see. They're that close that I'm turning in the driveway. I had a guy want to beat me up at the Wawa. All right? I got tractor trailers coming through there throwing Jake brakes on. I got handicapped little kids on ponies. Thank God they're bomb-proof. I go out there and I try to stop them. They flip me to bird. Try handling your family and kids that way. The horses I run back there, they were going to market. I gave them a second shot, and they all worked good. I don't need an accident to happen. I've asked for a 4-ton limit. Mayor DeBella told me that there weren't going to be any trucks there when they built Wawa because they weren't going to sell diesel fuel. I went in and talked to Wawa. They never were going to sell diesel fuel there. It's just not right. And a 25-mile-an-hour limit. It's all bends back through there. I picked 2 kids out of the woods on motorcycles, a Mustang out of the other bend. A couple of them hit and just go at 3 o'clock in the morning. The next thing they're gonna do is drive through my corral. Not that, you know, it's gonna bother me that they took out a horse. It's gonna kill them. I mean, and I talked to the police. There's not enough police on duty at night, and that's usually when it happens, or at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm gonna have traffic. Which way are they gonna go in and out of this project you wanna build? Onto Route 9, White Street, my little dead-end street? Nobody, everything's a big secret anymore, and we find out through the coffee shops. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm doing what I'm doing to keep my place. And I'm told by my family, Dad, it's gonna happen. Let it go. Don't get aggravated with it. It shouldn't be that way, Bob. It really shouldn't be. Thanks for listening to me, even maybe it didn't mean anything, but I had to get it off my chest.
Thank you very much. Cheryl Gambarella.
Excuse me, Mayor, the garbage. I get yelled at it, and the Girl Scouts that come down my street, God bless them. I tell them, you gotta be real careful, somebody has to watch. Coming over the hills and around, they're gonna take these little kids out, and they come over to pet my horses. I mean, thanks again.
Mayor, just before the next person comes up, I just want to make it really clear to the residents that are concerned about this particular project and all of the other color projects, that, excuse me, all of these still have to go in front of the planning board, and that's when they bring their concerns for site plans. The plan approvals for the fair share don't automatically grant approvals. They still have to go to the planning board. That's when the issues with the wells and the septic and the roads and the traffic, that's where that gets dealt with. So I just want to ensure that you understand that just because the site was approved in the fair share plan doesn't mean anything's going to be built. It still has to be approved at the planning board level. So that's where you need to take your fight, is to the planning board. I see you shaking your head back there. I sat in the planning board for 4 years. I know that's where you come.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Cheryl Gambarella.
Hi, Cheryl Gambarella. I am president of the Howell Chamber of Commerce, and I've been a resident of Howell for 28 years, and I have had a business in Howell for 23. I just wanted first to take the opportunity to wish you much success this year. And also, we would like to work with the township and bringing in good business ratables. We just feel that with the tax burden even larger this year for the township, that it's something that hopefully we can help you with, work with the EDC possibly. We would like to know where we are with the sewers on Route 9. I know we had worked with Phase 1, and there was going to be Phase 2 and Phase 3, which we haven't heard on. I just feel that sometimes the ratables you can get in where there's no sewers on Route 9 or 33, you're very limited on what kind of business you can get in. We are trying to create a pamphlet which we've been working with the manager with to help businesses, good businesses, come in and make it a easier process to go through everything with. And we just want to know if there's something that we can do to help you, if we can work maybe with the EDC, what the EDC is, how they are going to have an impact on maybe reaching out to some of these businesses that you would like to see come into Howell and have more of a proactive than a reactive approach to it. So I just wanted to go on record to let you know that we're here. That's what we're here for, is business, and to help you any way we can with anything, and just the source.
Use as many helpful people as possible.
Okay.
We'll discuss with the manager. Maybe we'll set up a meeting with some members of the chamber and go from there, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bill Hill. Is that how Rebel Blue yell, or is that Tom's Rivers color?
Kind of like
Just checking you, Bill.
something with.
Name and address, please.
Bill Hill, 7 Oaks Drive in Farmingdale. I want to first I came for a permit back 2007, built a house up on the West Farms Road. And thanks to Jack Mallon, I probably would have never had the house built. We pay, I guess, an engineering firm that in the building department, now that it's, you had the guy there had retired, then you had a guy in between holding it down, but now the guy there, they do a wonderful job. Well, my family's been in construction building for years, so some of that stuff is pretty good. One problem I have is I just, right before Christmas, the building was giving me a temporary CO, and engineering helped me up for a month, and I got to pay $1,000 interest on a construction loan. I just got it today, and still, I didn't even know that you could get from engineering as a temporary CO. I said, well, if I could have got a temporary for maybe a street blacktop, which I put $2,500 bond in to say I'm not putting a blacktop road in right now because it's wintertime, or maybe the height up, whatever it was, I could have had a temporary done before. So it cost me $1,000. At the same time, fine, I deal with that. At the same time, I got 8 acres here in Howell. And as I listened to some of the stories today, my family grew up in Alabama. My father has worked on a farm. And some of you know Officer Hill, his father picked him up, told him to get in the car, let's go. They came here to Farmingdale. Okay? He didn't even go in the house, straight to New Jersey. So now, I have 8 acres in Howell I'm going to build. So I hear about this affordable housing, but now I worked hard. Okay, engineer, worked hard. So now the house, the lots were all 2-acre lots according to the area. I guess they're 2-acre lots, zoning areas, that's how you call it. But it was never street frontage. Never, when I bought it, wasn't street frontage. But the concept was, I got land, I could build a house, then I have kids, I could give them land to build a house. All that's covered. So I get a letter right before the new year that we consolidated all your lots. Your house is on 8 acres. I said, well, who consolidated? So I had to wait through the New Year's. Of course, over that office, nobody's there. The people can't speak up. You got, like I said, Jack Mallon is the guy. Okay? Nothing get done in engineering without Jack Mallon. I asked a question. How do you consolidate my lots when it's been 2 acres? I said, when I bought it, it was zoned 2 acres. I have 8, it was 4 2-acre lots. But they said because you consolidated 2606 and 2607, it landlocked the other one. I said, it was already landlocked. You have a road there coming across Casino, but what we did was able to get an easement from the Reverend because that was the easiest way to go. So there is a ruling, I understand, that if you're undersized, your acres, you can consolidate the lots. My lots are not undersized, but they never had road frontage. You knew. And plus, the way I was going to build my house, I had to combine the 2 lots, which the suggestion came from engineer. I didn't get no lawyer. They said if you combine 2606 and 2607, you could put the house in there, then go back and subdivide those 4 acres back to 2 acres, and you still had the 2 acres in the back. So now I go to them and I talk to them. They said maybe from tax you could do it. But Robin said it came from engineering.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Hill has 1 minute remaining.
It came from engineering. I need somebody to fix this because, like I said, some people don't want certain people around here, but at the same time, I got 8 acres in Howell. Now you're telling me I can't do something with my family on the other 6 acres that I have because it's been consolidated. And when I call over there, set up an appointment. You know, you call Jack Mallon, when can you get here? He said, I open the door at 6. Can you be here at 6:30? This is down in Towns River. You know, why don't we eliminate some, get this guy down here?
So I'd like to tell you this, Michelle, can you see that somebody sits with them and helps them?
Yes, our attorney will sit with him.
Okay, because this is really we don't make those kind of decisions about
I understand
language
that.
up here.
And I respect, I think you guys are doing a terrific job. I know you all, and I know where you come from, Bobby. I know from a long time. And Mr. Howell and the rest of you, I know just let me meet the rest of you.
So
I understand, but I just had to get this out. And I found out some other things tonight also.
Okay. So, Ms. Slagle, you'll see this taken care of?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Bill. Robin DeCastro.
Mayor, Council, good evening.
Good evening, Rob.
I just wanted to give you a briefing on the Board of Ed happenings within the last few months. There's nothing that you don't already know, but until the Board of Ed really delivers on its transparency, I think that this venue here gives us the opportunity to tell the people what's going on. Back in January 7th, the Board of Ed held a special meeting. They wanted to do a special election referendum. As you all know, there's a $5 million shortfall in the Board of Ed. There was a bill in the Senate, A15, that was going to move the general elections for the Board of Ed till November, and along with that, they would take away from the voters the right to vote on the budget, unless they were going to go above the 4% cap that they were allowed. Then they would have to go to the voters to get that approval. So the board decided to follow the law. They had to do this timetable in case they wanted to go with that option to go to referendum. That hasn't taken place yet. They got until I'm sorry, I don't have that. The vote would take place on March 10th, but I believe they got until February 4th to make that decision. So whether they're going to go to the $5 million referendum.
And Mr. DeCastro, just to be clear, that would be in addition to the levy that they look to raise in their April elections, correct?
They have a they have a 4% cap. So if they go for the $5 million, that would be 8% plus the 4%. You're looking at a 12% increase in revenue that they would be asking the taxpayers to support.
How many millions of dollars, Mr. DeCastro, are they looking to raise?
It would be $5 million plus the 4% cap, which would be another $2.72 million. That plus they could go for a waiver. Plus they could right, they could go for another $2 million waiver.
That's $10 million.
So it's $10 million. The next meeting is for the financial,
down,
which is.
please.
I'm sorry?
Just want them to keep it down. They have a hard time picking up if people are talking. Sorry, Mr. DeCastro.
No problem. The next meeting for the subcommittees, the financial, which is January 27th. I think they're going to make some decisions then. It's my understanding that the administration gave the Board of Ed 4 options with consequences of what options they decide. What would be the outcome, whether they're going to close 2 schools, where they're going to make cuts. There's no decision made yet, so I just want to make that clear. But I think the public needs to know what this Board of Ed is doing. Again, they don't really believe in transparency as I believe in, because they don't video their meetings. So, other than this venue, I think that's how we get the information out there. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeCastro, for being a liaison to the local Board of Ed. Last but not least, Mr. Estevez.
I'm okay. What I wanted to discuss was already discussed, so it's fine, I'm good.
I was hoping maybe you would.
He just doesn't want to get that close to that eagle shirt. He doesn't know if he can control himself.
I can't wait to put the lighter fluid on.
Hey now.
We have somebody else that would like to speak. I'd like to be in. Come on.
Sorry.
No problem at all.
Are we on 6A?
Public
Marks?
comment.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
If you would like to say something, feel free.
Kenneth Coffey, Hampton Road, Howell.
How you doing, Ken?
How you doing? Congratulations.
Thank you.
9B15.
9B15.
Can you tell me, how much, when, how, who? I thought we did our own snow removal.
Not totally, sir.
Okay.
Never totally. For years and years, we've been using some subcontractors in Howell Township.
Okay. I didn't know that.
There's 184 miles that we have to take care of. There would be a lot more on trucks, a lot more in workers. We've
All
been
right, so this is not-
subcontracted out for a number of years. Is that correct,
This
Ms.
is not-
Slagle?
not-
Yes, sir, this is not new.
Okay.
Not new at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But, Mr. Coffey, if you wanted the ad information, certainly give me a call and I can get it for you. No problem.
All right. Being that said, I'll close the public portion. Do we need to take a break before we go on? Take a 2-minute break? Okay. Take a 2-minute break, then we'll reopen. All right, I'd like to reopen the meeting. Ms. Woman, I believe I can go back now?
Yes.
To the 9Bs and the 9Cs.
That's correct.
We're all good with 9B1 through 5. We're all good with 9B6 through 11. We pulled 9B7, correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
9B12 through 16 we were good with. We're gonna have a separate vote on 9B17. 9B18 we're good with. 9C1 through 4. And 9B7.
Mayor, if you're going to be making appointments to 9C3 and 9C4, there'll be separate votes as well.
We're not going to be, are we going to make an appointment tonight? I believe we're going to be making an appointment tonight. Okay?
We'll also be adding the resolution 9B19, which is before the council authorized petition to be submitted to COA.
So we'll add 9B19.
Correct.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Now, this is on consent, is that correct? Mike?
Yes, on consent.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Abstain.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. All right. Let's, 9B17, authorize the appointment of Township Auditor for the year 2009. Anybody have any comments? I do, if nobody else does. I would like to put it out again to bid. I would like some other specifications put in there to have I would like to have an audit of the shade tree funds, the affordable housing funds, and the sewer utility going back 4 years. I want to make sure that all monies have been received that should be received, and that all monies are accounted for. I'm not happy to hear the numbers about our sewer utility at this time with what we have to do tonight. And I would like to know that the decisions I'm making are based on exactly what is there. Coming in as a new mayor, I think one of the biggest things that I need personally is to know that everything is 100% accurate that I'm making my decisions on. So I would like it to be re-advertised.
Mr. Mayor, if I might inject, this appointment is for the statutory auditor as required in the statutes. What you're discussing tonight probably would be a special project over and above what is required by the state of New Jersey as far as the annual audit. And I think you can and should go out and bid that as a separate project over and above what the statutory auditor should be doing.
Can we bid that and have the special auditor do the same thing? Have them do both of them?
Well, it's two separate jobs.
I understand.
You know, there are specifications in the statutes over what the auditors should do on an annual basis. That was what your appointment of an auditor for 2009 would address. It's a statutory requirement to get a certified audit done by an auditor. Certainly, you can go out and do another specification for a special project if you want to do a multi-year audit and do that sort of work. That certainly would be something to do, but it would be a separate project and should properly be bid separately.
Okay, can we bid them at the same time and hopefully get a price for both from the same person or the same company?
Yes, we can.
Okay. It would be my recommendation we do that. I know we've had many questions in the past. I believe you've seen them, Mr. Filiatro, where we've had The head of the Shade Tree Commission asked for reports of what's coming in, what's out, the whole ball of wax. Well, for me personally, you know, being a banker, I know that I have to make decisions based on exact, true numbers, okay? And I need to feel comfortable. I would like it to be done. It's my suggestion. If anybody from the governing body has any comments on it, feel free. Or if you want to separate them, or whatever you decide. But I'm not comfortable at the moment, okay, based on questions that have been brought up in the past and questions that I have right now about the sewer utility from what we were told the last few years. I would like to see that the specs be changed. If somebody would like them to be separate, so be it. That's up to the governing body to decide. But I need to feel comfortable that all monies are in that should be in. Everything's accounted for, so that the decisions that we make going forward, okay, are based on exactly what is there. And my uncomfortability does arise from being told in the past that the sewer utility was paying for itself and was in good shape. I mean, to be told now of the deficit that we're projecting this year and not to have known that in the past, I'm just not comfortable with. As a business owner, if I had those kind of projections, I would probably be filing for Chapter 13 today, hoping to reorganize and keep my company afloat. We're not in that kind of situation here. But I need to know that the numbers are exactly what they are. So it's my thought process. Anybody? Councilwoman Dalton? Deputy Mayor Dalton, I'm sorry.
Either is fine. Mr. Mayor, I would move that we resubmit for bidding the Township General Auditor as well as the auditing for special projects as outlined by Your Honor when you stated that it would be to look at the Sewer Utility Fund for the last 4 years, the Shade Tree Fund for the last 2 years, and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the last 4 years.
Mayor, can I just make a recommendation that we would do them as two specifications at the same time, and then, you know, depending on if it's the same person that bid, maybe it's, you know, his price is a little different then, but I would suggest that you do spec it out separately, with, of course, allowing the same person to bid on it, but I think it would be my recommendation would be to actually spec it out separately, because one would meet the statutory requirement, and then you would have the other one specific to what you're looking for.
I think we can do an A and B bid
Yeah.
in one
Okay.
document.
Yeah, that's what I would move.
Okay, do I have a second?
I would second.
Any other comments? Do I have a roll call, please, Ms. Holman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Let's go to 9C5, appointments to the Finance Review Committee. There'll be 7 members to 1-year term, expires 12/31 of 2009. Do I have any recommendations from the governing body?
Do you have any?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to vote on a number of people. I know we have 7 members with 1-year term, and specifically, I would move for Mr. Robert Johnson Jr. I'm going to kill this name, so I will spell it Nafaul, and last name Panjwani. And the next individual is Ken Janawa, and a Tina Rose Rajuli. I've said it before, but I'm killing it now. Mr. Edward Guz, and Sue Weitengruber, and Mr. Mike Morgan.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Holman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Abstain.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. And I believe, do I appoint the chairperson? Or is it,
I believe the committee elects the chairperson.
well, then let them elect that chairperson, Ms. Slagle. So that's it for the Finance Review Committee.
May I ask a question? Are we going to, in a separate vote, appoint a council?
We already appointed, I believe, you to the council liaison
Okay, just
back on
checking.
January 1st.
I'm looking forward to it, just checking. I don't think we did.
Because we didn't do it.
Really?
Yes, but I just,
But I would move that.
Oh, I'll second that.
uh-oh. I should have mentioned
Have a
it.
roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Abstain.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Absolutely. Okay. Please let me know when the first meeting is. I would like to attend also.
I'm looking forward to it.
As a citizen, I can attend, right? It's open meetings.
I'm hoping you
Is that
can.
correct, Ms. Slagle?
Absolutely, Mayor.
Maybe you'd like to join me.
I think I have another meeting.
I believe
that
Mrs.
night.
Slagle has the bird flu that day.
Okay, so we're done with the 9Cs. Anything else we have to add on there, Ms. Woman?
Did we accept the resignation of Mr. Lebrio?
9C7 was in on the other ones with 9C1 through 4.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to comment, having been the council liaison to the Ordinance Review Committee and spent considerable time with Mr. Lebrio. I didn't get to say it before, that he's done a commendable job. It's a loss for us to have him not be serving at this time, but I know that he's got a family and very, very busy and committed. I'd certainly, my personal feeling is that he would be welcome back to serve at any time if he'd like to volunteer again in the future, and I want to personally thank him for all of his efforts on behalf of the township.
Anybody else?
I would just second those comments as well.
Anybody else? Personally, I like to say Mr. Librio is one of the pillars of Howell Township. He's active doing things all over this town, serving the community. Family like his makes this place a better place to live in. So I'm thrilled that he served on the committee, and I agree that if he would ever like to serve again in any capacity, he'd be more than welcome by my fire. So with that, let's go to discussion items.
Mayor, we need to cover 9C6 as well.
9C6.
And I believe we need to,
9C6, do we have all of them?
I think we got one new one.
Yes, there was one.
I didn't know if we had all of them,
Yeah,
and that's why I didn't,
Yeah, we have one more, I think.
I believe we got something from one of the park owners,
Yes, I saw that.
and then we got something else from another citizen. Anybody like to make a motion, 9C6, appointment to the Mobile Home Rent Control Board?
Am I correct in saying that there were Miss Cindy Lou Jordan? I believe we got an application from her, and the also Mr. Robert Gorbeck also sent in an application for appointment. Given we had vacant seats on that, I would move to have them.
Cindy Lou Jordan, she's a park owner, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And the other gentleman is
a resident of Green Acres.
All right, so he would get the 10 and 1 year term?
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't we, okay. I was trying to find a 10 and 5-year term to put him on, but I can't find one there. You know, I was looking for a 20-year like a mortgage, you know? So, okay, so we're going to appoint,
That's not all the members. That committee is composed of more than just the members that are listed on the agenda. Am I correct?
That is
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
so we will be appointing to the park owner, 5-year term, Cindy Lou Jordan. Is that correct?
If that's what the
That's
council wishes
correct.
to do.
Yes, that's correct. That's
Okay.
what I
that-
would so move.
That expires 12/31/2013. and to the tenant to a one-year term that expires 12/31/2009. What was the name again?
Robert Gorich.
Okay. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes.
May I make a motion on 9C7 that we accept with regret the resignation of John Relabrio from the Ordinance Review Committee?
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
No, I'm not accepting his resignation. Nah.
Mayor, I don't know if it's appropriate at this time, but we didn't fill the council liaison to the Rec Advisory Committee. At this time, I'd like to, if it's possible, nominate Lou Memolo.
I believe we already nominated.
I believe you appointed someone already.
Yes.
I believe it was the
Deputy
deputy mayor, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
I'm on the email list.
Oh.
That's correct.
I think over the next 2 weeks,
it
we'll
was
find,
ordinance
we'll
review.
find something Councilman Memolo to do. Is that correct, Mr. Slagle?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
I look forward for it.
We will not leave him alone. You do weddings, Lou? And just-
Nah. I go to the weddings.
Okay, I believe we're done with everything. Now we go back to 7A, right? 7A1, Code Development Fee Ordinance. Our co-attorney.
Are you, excuse me, one moment. Are you ready to appoint for 9C7 or no?
No.
Okay.
I think we also have to, didn't we appoint somebody to the Ordinance Review Committee that wasn't no longer a citizen? I think we have another appointment to make, so that we have two, just so we know for next time. I think,
With regard to the ordinance review, I believe we could ask that McKenna Kingdon, I would suggest, would be a very good addition, given her legal experience and training to that.
I'm just waiting for a second.
second.
Give me a roll call.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Okay.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
I like you, no. Okay? Yes. Put me down as a yes.
Mayor, was it, we're all sitting here trying to figure out, did we appoint a council liaison to the Ordinance Review Committee?
No.
That's where we wanted Mr. Memolo.
Second.
But I believe that was
We only got a
Mrs.
second. Give me a roll call, Mrs. Mullen. Give me a roll call.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Memolo?
I abstain.
Mayor Walsh?
Absolutely. Yes. All right, we all done there?
Yes, sir.
I need to know if we're all done.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. 7A1, we need to have a discussion on code development fee ordinance done by our co-attorney, Andrew Bear. Anybody? Any input? Why don't we hear from our attorney, McKenna? Have you looked this over? What do you think?
I have looked over, and actually I spoke with, Andrew Bear about it. You are supposed to discuss it, then we'll present it to COA for their approval. He's drafted it so that it applies to Howell. There's a model ordinance that we followed to some degree. But it allows for the 2.5% increase, 2.5% fee for the commercial housing, the non-residential, which is something that they hadn't allowed for in the past.
Okay, but you know, I believe they just came out of something down in Trenton where they don't have to pay the 2.5% this year. But they didn't lower our affordable housing obligation.
That's correct, but I don't know all of the ramifications behind that. It doesn't, I would have to ask Andy, but.
I believe we still need to have this in place.
So this gives us the
Oh,
ability
absolutely.
to charge it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? I believe we have a couple attorneys up here on council. Any input?
I mean, it's the model ordinance, as far as, how does this differ from what we have now? Are you saying we didn't have that 2.5% for
That's
commercial
correct.
before? And for how long have we been allowed to charge 2.5%?
We are just allowed to do
now.
that now.
What did commercial developers have to put in prior to this change in the state law?
I don't know what they had to put in, but
But
I
they
can
had to
ask.
put something in.
Yes.
Okay, it just wasn't as much as it is now.
Right, and I believe that the residential also changed as well, it increased.
It went up. Okay. How does this affect our, I thought we have an ordinance about creating housing within, building on site, rather than paying in.
That's separate, right?
I don't know what you're
Uh,
exactly
It's
asking.
a builder
The
build.
inclusionary housing ordinance?
Inclusionary housing has to be built within the developments now. Is my understanding that was the law. I'm not sure if it's not. I mean, so if somebody comes in with a development application, they're gonna build 10 houses on their, whatever acre lot, and they have the zoning for it. Of those 10 houses, 2 need to be affordable. Am I correct?
Correct.
And they're still gonna have to build those 2 affordable units in their 10 housing project, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so they won't pay because they're, okay. So,
I think where the change comes is if they're gonna build 11, then they have to pay a percentage of what the housing cost would be on that 11th one.
okay, okay. So this isn't, the first stop, the first line of compliance is that the house has to be built, not the payment of.
Correct.
And we have that ordinance so that we encourage that if they are going to build, that they must include inclusionary housing, rather than we have that ordinance to disincentivize them from building in general.
Correct.
It has the same effect,
Yes.
though.
A lot of them used to opt out and just try to pay in, and it wasn't enough to fulfill what the affordable housing obligations are, so they,
Okay, well, I'm fine with the language. That's
I think the one place that it covers us too is if a guy comes in with a subdivision of 3 houses, he wouldn't have to build an affordable one, but he'd have to pay
Pay into the-
75%.
Right, that's correct.
So,
okay? I have no issue. I have no comments on this at all. Glad you're staying on top of it. That's why I asked a couple lawyers to join me up here in life, 3 female lawyers, I'm taking orders, folks. Let's cut to the chase. Next on discussion is fee schedule. Fee schedule ordinance for the Finance Review Committee and the Ordinance Review Committee. I'd like to make a comment if possible, and I think I will because I'm allowed to say who speaks first on this. There was a lot of work done on this ordinance between the Ordinance Review Committee and the Finance Review Committee. Many, many hours by volunteers in Howell Township trying to, and our professionals and our manager and her staff. A lot of input went
I was
into this.
actually deputy at that time.
Excuse me?
I was actually the deputy manager when this
She was the deputy
started.
manager at that time. She got promoted since then, but a lot of time and many hours have been put into this over the last year and a half. And I'd like to thank everybody for the time that they've put in. Finance Review Committee, I believe 4 or 5 of them are back on the Finance Review Committee this year. I think she's done a great job. The Ordinance Review Committee, John Labrio will be dearly missed, but him and his committee did a fantastic job with their input. And Ms. Slagle, she was the deputy manager. I think she did 1 or 2 things out of this 12 pages. Okay, let's cut to the chase. And, one of my things is I had saw too many fees and too many ordinances conflicting with each other in different places. And I've watched it brought to the attention of the governing body numerous times over the last few years. And I think this puts a lot of those things with the fees in order, which is very important. instead of having conflicted things all over our books. So I thank everybody for all the hours they've put in. And I'm fine with moving this forward and making a new fee ordinance. I believe that the head of the Finance Review Committee, she may be here later on. She's not here now. I would like to be able to, after we're done discussing this, to keep it open if we're still here. So if she had any comments, or we had any questions for Ms. Weitengruber, that we keep it open in case for when she comes back, if she is here later on, we can open the floor again. So that's my comments. Anybody else?
Can I just ask, as far as the document that's been created, if there is no, it's got suggested new fee, so if there's no prior fee, the suggested new, it's, maybe I'm answering my own question. I mean, there were some items that I really did have some concern with. And if this is the right time to talk about them, I'll just...
No, this is absolutely the right time to talk about it, because this isn't in ordinance form yet, and we would love the input from the council.
The continuing application for a CO, I do enough real estate law to know that can be an issue sometimes, and I have a little trouble digesting a second inspection fee, a third inspection fee, a fourth inspection fee going up to $100. It's burdening. I'm just concerned why. I know we need to generate revenue, but it seems to me.
I think it's because we have to pay the employees time to go back out there.
But I'm wondering, I know you do this area of the law, which I do not, so my question is, if they're going back, it's because there's some issue that, correct, was not dealt with by the homeowner properly. So I guess my thought is, if the homeowner is not dealing with it initially and the town has to go back and re-inspect it when they know the requirements, that's where I think that it would be appropriate to have an additional fee, given they're
But
put
we're
on
talking
notice.
about $100 for the first for the first CO, which, I haven't taken a generic survey. I don't know. Is that in keeping with what it averages within this county?
It's low.
It's low.
Yeah.
It's low.
Right.
$100 is low.
Yes.
Low.
It should. Okay.
But we
other
should
towns-
raise that fee.
Okay.
I
All
think
right,
you
then
see
in that case, I guess with the second and third inspections, I just have a concern when we're generating reasons to go out and inspect on a second and third time.
I think you're seeing a perfect example of a prosecuting attorney and a defense attorney, folks. Okay? You were watching the scales of justice being balanced.
And you're the bubble in the level.
Woo!
Mayor, I have a question. A CCO for commercial occupancy is only $5?
No,
And we're
that
charging
can't
a
be.
resident $100?
That can't be.
Let's get after that one.
Oh.
I have a,
Yeah, I see it.
what is going on there? Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it down out there. Put that one down as a typo.
Yeah, I have it in front of me. That has to be incorrect.
Okay.
Okay.
It's supposed to be 500?
Yeah,
Fine.
you know, why don't we go to the next page? Any other questions on that page? I'm serious. Let's make sure there's no more typos here that are costing the residents of
maybe we
Howell
should start
Township
at the top.
$495 at a clip.
I have a question on special meetings for the planning board and zoning board. We have a rate down here at $1,200. Is that $1,200 plus the cost of the professionals? Or is that inclusive?
Well, that That was the original rate that you have, that's in the ordinance book now.
Well, I know, and I've never gotten that answer. You
I
know,
can certainly get it
If
for
we
you.
have a 6-hour meeting at the planning board, the attorney's making,
It's not.
you know, $125 an hour, the engineer's making $125 an hour, the planner's making $125 an hour, we just lost a lot of money.
So would you like it changed to be, what's the opinion of the council? Did you want it to be changed to inclusive of the professional fees? How do you want to
Well,
handle that?
I would like
That's
to
why
know
we're
the
di-
answer
that's why
is-
we're discussing,
Yeah,
to-
I'm
yeah.
just wondering if it's $1,200 and then the professional fees on top.
I guess that is probably $1,200 plus the professional fees on top.
Well, but it doesn't say that.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Filiaccio, do we charge some of our cost to escrows? Is that true, sir?
Yes, we do.
Or from the plan, from the engineering building down there?
We cannot charge for facilities, no, but we do charge for any time that our staff spends on it. All right, but no, the municipal land use law does not allow us to charge for the use of facilities or anything like that.
But for the personnel, a portion of,
But our personnel, if
Right. And
Mr. Filiaccio's there, Ms. Capitan's there,
I do, I mean, I administer the escrow too, and we do take escrow money, and the professionals do and charge, the developers escrow money for that entire meeting. So this must be a fee over and above.
it is, this
what
is
the
actually,
escrow.
you have to remember, these are actually like the township fees.
all right, well, just.
So,
Yeah, I just want to
Yeah.
have
The
that
escrow
clarified to make
fees.
sure that we're
Oh,
not
right.
paying $1,800 in
Right.
professional fees out of a $1,200 check.
right, no,
Okay.
right.
Licensing fees. I think this alcoholic beverage one should go from 2,500 to 25,000. Dennis, you still here? Preparation of developers agreement at $650. Is that on top with, if we have special counsel preparing that, we're charging an hour?
I think it says or actual, the recommendation is for actual costs of council fees.
$650 or professional's fee, but it
Yeah,
cuts
it
it off
cuts
on
off,
me.
yeah,
It cuts off on me. Oh, it does, it cuts off at WHIC for me. Well, H and ever greater isn't here, so, okay? I didn't see that, that's why I asked that question.
Mr. Slagle, for the recreation fees, like for the field lighting, I see we have a schedule for residents and non-residents, but I don't see them, a separate fee schedule for a for-profit that wants to use the fields.
What'd you say, for profit?
Like, the Howell Men's Softball League is, if the guy who runs it, and I don't know who runs it, if he lives in town,
I
he's
don't-
paying the resident fee, but is he making a profit on the league?
Right, but if I'm not mistaken, we can't discriminate in that sense.
So we can't take into account whether it's.
We can do
for-profit.
residents and non-residents, but we can't say because you're, making money or not making money.
So people could be making money using our
Well,
facilities.
we would have to, first off, we'd have to talk to Green Acres to get approval because it's Green Acres property. So anything we do has to go through them when it's a Green Acres property. Secondly, I know at one point we had discussed, I'm going back, I don't know if you were on the council at the time, it was a while back regarding like charging for the field usage
about
for
4 years
profit.
ago.
Yeah, that's correct. But we don't have anything in place right now for that. So we can do resident, non-resident. We also have to open it up because it is Green Acres, money was used to purchase the property, and it does have to be opened up to anyone in the state of New Jersey.
Okay?
And then I also see here the summer team program. It lists a $100 fee for residents, and then a $100 fee, but the stipulation is non-resident special needs. Is there supposed to be a comma in there, or is it?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Yeah, that's a special program for special needs children.
Right.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
Oh, okay, that
Can I
was your
ask-
question.
Can I ask my question on why the special needs program would cost more just because they're non-residents?
Yes.
Okay, but
We don't accept, we don't accept non-residents into our teen program. With the special needs program, because the program was not offered throughout the county, we had, when it was formed, we had originally had like a joint effort with, say, Manalapan and Marlboro to offer, because we were able to offer it, that we had opened it up to non-residents. The rest of our programs that are offered through the recreation department that are sponsored by the town recreation department, there are no out-of-town residents.
could I just ask, I don't know what the council's opinion is on that. I just feel with special needs, given it's a special needs program, is it appropriate to keep it in line, just keep the fee down a little bit? I mean, I know it's $150.
Well, actually, right now, we aren't able to, we have outgrown the program, and they're a victim of their own success, and we, as far as I know, this summer, we are unable to take any out-of-town residents.
And having a son in that program, it's an outstanding program, and what the township does for those special needs children and their families in the summertime in that program, $150, it may be the best deal in the state of New Jersey. They go above and beyond. They really,
It's a
truly
lot
do.
different than the regular rec program.
Oh, I know that. I was just hoping that any residents who had special needs children, I mean, who wanted to engage in that, to give that consideration. That was my issue more than anything else.
No, I'd say
But-
raise it.
Are you talking between residents and non-residents?
Yes, exactly. If you look at the fee for
Right,
residents and non-residents, and it says non-resident special needs, my point is I just wanted to see. Yes, my point is I just wanted to
Oh,
see
okay.
the benefit to both special needs to make sure that they.
You're gonna have to talk
Yes.
into the mic, Ms. King.
Just like
Did you want, just let me clarify this, because I'm still confused. Did you want the non-resident and the resident to pay the same? Or that's not what you're saying?
No, that's actually, you're probably thinking different. That is what I'm saying, and I don't know what council's position is on this, but.
Well, let me just explain how that they came about this, is that a portion of the program is subsidized by the taxpayer.
Mhm.
So the non-resident is not subsidizing through
Got
their
it.
taxes.
Okay.
So that money, that's why the non-resident is being charged a little bit more than the resident.
With that clarification.
Not to put the burden on the Howell taxpayer.
Yes, I was just more looking for the special needs and being concerned about
Absolutely.
making sure it was available to anyone. But given that clarification, I understand the reasoning.
And recreation fees, just so you know, in a lot of other towns, going up to $300-400 a child.
And I think it's Manalapan and Englishtown. They
Yeah.
just split. Manalapan no longer accepting residents from out of town.
Mhm.
Now, Mr. Slagle, just so that everybody understands when we're talking about these fees, and you just touched on it where you said that the taxpayers actually help subsidize this program. Ballpark figure. What's the number in red besides these fees? If we were trying to run these programs just on these fees,
Well, right now, what we've done, just so you know, is that all the programs, aside from the summer recreation program, is now self-supporting, and they're run through a
The summer
trust.
rec was the one I was
Right,
talking about.
so there's no tax burden If they don't bring the money in, then they can't run the program, so the users are paying for the program. Summer rec, you would probably, I can't give you the total figure, but I could tell you would probably have to raise the fee to close to $500 in order to be self-sufficient.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question concerning, I just want to clarify, because I was talking before, I was looking at the certificate of continuing occupancy items and talking about it as a certificate of occupancy, and that's not accurate. Those are two different items, correct? Or am I not correct? Because we've got numbers on this form, on this chart that are different. There's CCO, and I know in my experience, some towns call them one thing, some towns call them another, but we've got them here listed as a CCO in one place where the house CCO is going to go up to $100, and then that's when I was talking about the second inspection, third inspection, fourth inspection, and those fees, and I accept that we have a basis to actually charge fees for those. But then I go down a couple of pages, and I wish these were numbered, but I'm doing my best, maybe 3 or 4 pages down, 5 pages down, and I get to, it's below recreation, it's below, uniform construction code fees, and then we've got a whole bunch of COs. Wait a minute, and then there's another one, it's here somewhere, where it talks about a certificate of occupancy is now going to be $60, so I'm a little confused.
It's the fee.
I could
for-
tell you the first set you're talking about, that went from 70 to 100 and then
Uh-huh.
0 to, those are actually going to be called either resale inspections or
Okay.
rental inspections. Those are when a house is being rented to another person or sold from person one to person two.
Okay.
The other ones are probably all the new construction CO fees.
Okay, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
the initial.
Okay, and I guess we can, you'll
Yeah,
clear
the
it
building,
up.
the building
Okay.
department has repeatedly said to us, don't call those CCOs, they're not, they're resale
Right.
inspections.
Resale certificate, I like that.
Certificates, correct.
Well, let's change that wording.
Yeah.
Would that be sufficient, Ms. Nunziata?
Our form's already changed, it's just not changed in here.
Well, let's change it in here before we put this into pen to the paper. Everybody agree on the council?
I think so.
Absolutely.
Right, because then, okay, we got certificate fees here where it says, this is under land use, where it says residential CO, 40 is going up to 60, commercial CO is going from 80 to 150, and then we got a CC/O is going up from 100, no, is going from 60 to 80. So, now I'm really confused, because CCO would never be on a new construction.
What page is that one?
It's,
It's under the Uniform Construction
Right.
Code fees, second page of that section. Certificate fees, under lapsed permit
Here you go,
reinstatement.
you want the line?
Lapse permit reinstatement,
right, under certificate fees.
20% of original fee.
Right, so right under that is certificate fees, residential, commercial, change of use, CCO, temporary CO motel.
I don't see what you, I mean, I would,
Which one, if I buy a house, which one of these fees am I gonna get charged if I,
Depends on what kind of house you buy, if you buy a new one or an older one.
okay, if I buy a resale?
You don't get any of those. You
I
get the resale certificate,
Certificate, which is up in the, above that.
which is
Right.
4
Okay.
pages ahead, correct.
So then what is a CC/O?
That is probably a continued certificate of occupancy, and it might be a temporary that they're extending for
Okay.
30, 60, 90 days.
I mean, I don't care, I just wanna make sure that, you know.
let's get it right.
When this is in final form, I'll have the code sections that it
Okay.
references so that everybody will
Great.
know
Okay.
what I'm amending.
Yeah, this is why it's good to discuss this before we actually put it into any kind of ordinance
I'm
form.
fine with this.
Yeah, it is confusing, but it's good.
Let's get it right. I'm good on that. Anybody else? Good. Prosecutor, defense, you rest?
Look forward to seeing it in final proposed
Ooh.
form.
You want to talk about feeling like you've just been beat up?
So would the council like to have this for introduction on the February 5th? Or is it 3rd? 3rd, February 3rd meeting?
Oh, fine. Anybody? Members of the council?
Yes.
So we'll have it in ordinance form for first reading on February 3rd.
Okay. Just try to get it to us a few days before so we can look it over.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next, creation of a township ordinance limiting the number of dogs. Where we going with this one, folks? We've talked about this numerous times. I've probably heard discussions on this 6 or 7 different times in my 3 years up here. Any suggestions from anybody? Okay. Deputy Mayor Dalton.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I have reviewed this at length, and I have looked at what we had previously. I understand that the motivation for this at this time, it deals with reasonable limitations on the number of dogs that people can be licensed for. Isn't that sort of what the memos from the department heads are telling us? Well, 2 things. But in general, to me, there were a lot of comments from the memo from the Monmouth County Board of Health to Mr. Kerr back in September of '07, which I think are important, and I don't believe have been incorporated into the drafts of the ordinance. And I would say that we need to give those comments from Mrs. Cadoti, or Alice Cadot, the Chief Sanitary Inspector. We really need to look at them, because I read those after I had looked through the proposed ordinance myself, and I have a couple of comments in addition, or that actually duplicated what she had to say. One of the items I was concerned about is the square mileage of limiting the dog kennels in section 11 to...
I don't know if we're talking about dog kennels here, it's just the amount of dogs somebody can have.
Well, but that's not what, I mean, I know.
The dog kennel ordinance was a whole different ordinance. This is just, and I think this came about from the woman from Freewood Acres who came to us last year.
20 dogs.
No, I agree.
With 20 dogs in a neighbor's yard next door.
I agree completely, but what we're looking at is a dog kennel ordinance.
Exactly. It says in
And
there.
it's not what, somebody, maybe Miss Kingdon, you can point out.
We were going, what we wanted was to have a discussion on the fact of where the council wanted to go. Did you want to go with ordinance limiting the number of dogs? Do you want to speak about, redoing a kennel ordinance? Like, what, where does the governing body want to go with this?
I would think we should deal with the residential aspect first, and then do a separate kennel ordinance.
As of right now, we don't have a kennel ordinance in place. So if you're operating a kennel and it's not as of right now, as far as I know, it is not a permitted use in any of our zones. So you'd have to get a variance.
Right, that's why they keep winding up at the zoning board.
Right.
And the zoning board's asked for a couple of years to put an ordinance in place.
If you want to have kennels.
They've asked for a couple of years. Okay? What is the...
I'm thinking that 783, we should just be looking at right now, limiting how many dogs and cats you can have in your house. And then once we get this done, then we can attack the kennel ordinance, because that's going to be a long, drawn-out process, as it has been over the past 2 years. So I'd like to see us at least get something on the books to give us an avenue to control places like that, the alleged puppy mill, or somebody who's got 20 dogs and cats on their property. And then a kennel would be a whole different a whole different item. That's someone who's doing it for a business. This is somebody who just, you know,
You're talking domestic.
correct.
Do we have any recommendations of a number to put on? I know we've had this discussion before. Any recommendations for the?
Well, in the Board of Health paperwork, I guess it's on the bottom of the page, it says 79:2.1, number of dogs permitted, no more than 5 dogs or cats or combination of thereof shall be owned or harbored by any person except in a kennel or pet shop.
Was that Harvard or Harvard?
It depends if you went to Yale or Harvard. Or West Texas.
And then you can make exceptions for like working dogs
Deputy Mayor?
or seeing eye dogs.
I think, I agree with Mr. Howell, and in the ordinance that we introduced but ultimately did not pass, in Section 6, we did talk about no more than 5 dogs, and there was good language, and I think that language is appropriate, but I do agree that we should probably add cats and a combination of cats.
Or define domestic animal.
Or, yeah, defined, that's fine, yeah, sure, sure. I saw a thing a few days ago about a young man who petitioned his municipality to have hedgehogs allowed as a permitted domestic pet. And he convinced his council to do that. So yeah, whatever we define as domestic pet is probably a good time to do that while we're limiting those numbers of animals.
The number. We need to come to some kind of consensus on a number. I'm fine with number 5.
Me too.
Okay?
Agreed.
I could, with a long twist and forced to go up to 6. I do remember that woman coming before us saying there were 20 dogs next door barking 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And you know what? That's not right. Okay? That's not right. And I did hear all the arguments. Another person came up and said, if one of my dogs dies and I want to buy 2, and now I have 6, and now I have 7. I understand. Okay, I also understand that we're going to put a number on it. So, I'm good with 5, unless somebody says go to 6, and I'm outvoted 4-1. I'm fine with the number 5.
My question is, 5, would that be include dogs and cats?
Yeah.
So 5 dogs total? Everyone feels that?
That was going to be my question.
And that's, I noticed that the Freehold Township's ordinance has 5, and I'm just curious from our experts what the Board of Health or what the other towns, is that consistent with most towns looking at 5?
I've reviewed about 40 different ordinances.
Okay.
And it's 3 to 5.
3 to
It's no
5?
greater than 5
Really?
combined.
Okay.
So we can sit back and feel comfortable that we went to the highest out of 40, and I think you'd have a consensus for the governing body that 5's the number. Anything else we want to discuss about this one? Because we're going to save dog kennels for another day.
Another month.
And I absolutely agree with everything that has been said about separating them too, because I think it's going to take a long time to look through in a lot of the kennels, some of the kennels that are already in existence, to make sure that we are cognizant of the issues in the town. But I think as an immediate question, I think members of the public specifically, and certainly what's been in the press, this is a very important issue that we deal with, and I think 5 should be the maximum.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? Let's go to the next one. Request to eliminate special conditions from Hungry Quail liquor license, Ramtown, Granville Road. Okay. Anybody want to speak up?
Mayor, in December, I guess it was December, I received an email from Mr. Dixon, who spoke earlier. I asked him, well, I forwarded the email to the clerk's office. He was asking us to help him continue to let his business grow by removing some of these restrictions that were placed on him and he agreed to when he initially came to open his establishment. I mean, we heard all manner of, you know, surfers were gonna invade the town and different things. You know, the letter from Mr. Dixon is in everybody's book. You know, he has been a good citizen. There have been, you know, to my knowledge, no problems there, except when Mr. Dixon had to call the police. I believe somebody tried to steal a bottle of wine out of his package, you know, out of his store.
It was a good bottle.
You know, I haven't, you know, talking to people at Nexus too, the other tenants in the plaza view him as an asset. That people come to his establishment and then go to their establishment. So I did have an opportunity to speak to Mr. Dixon on Sunday about the 7 conditions that were placed in the original, I guess it was a reso? Okay. You know, and he spoke about them a little bit earlier, the hours of operation till 11 o'clock on Sundays through Thursday, except for those specific dates. And then we got an email from the clerk's office today showing the disparity between his particular establishment and all of the other restaurants and bars within the town. You know, so I believe he's looking for relief from item number 1. Item number 2, which the licensee shall do nothing to encourage smoking outside of the restaurant. He complied with that. He put the signs up inside. So he's willing to keep number 2, I believe, because he's already complying with that one. Number 3, which, I mean, I don't understand how you could enforce this. The licensee shall de-emphasize the fact that it operates a bar and shall emphasize
Park the car.
the operation of a family restaurant. When he put the main sign up outside of his establishment, it says, what are you?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were from Boston. I just, I didn't.
You know, that
it
is a
it seemed
neighborhood
fun.
restaurant. It doesn't say
It seemed funny.
a tavern, anyway. So, you know, that one, you know, he's already complying with that.
I actually, I can tell you from driving initially through Ramtown and seeing that grill, the sign of the grill, I didn't realize that was, you were served alcohol there, so.
You know, number 4, he's willing to keep. He doesn't want to have pool tables or arcade games in there. Number 6, the not disposing of the trash after 9, leave that one in place. He's fine with that. We have to go back to number 5.
Can I ask a question about even, and the 9, I mean, if after business is done, I mean.
He stores the trash inside and dumps it the next day. He has a special facility inside the building. That was a requirement of his original CO.
Okay, just.
And then the number 7, licensee will erect signage consistent with other signage in the Quail Creek Mall. He's already done that. And he got the approvals from the town, so, you know, remove that one as well. So he's, you know, agreeable to keep 3 out of the 7 and remove 3. You know, number 5.
I don't know if agreeable is the right term, okay?
Amenable?
He's not asking us to.
Yeah, I don't know if no, I don't know if agreeable is the right term. I mean, you know, we need to make a decision up here, and we've made these decisions
But he's
before.
asking for
Yeah, I understand.
relief from those.
So, okay. Anybody else?
Yes,
You know,
Ms.
and number 5, I think, you know, he has the commercial displays. He has a company come in and do those. So, you know, you know,
I think there's
Deputy Mayor.
2 issues. The first one is, can he extend his hours? And I don't know do we have an ordinance on any other?
We have Monday through Saturday, 7 to 2 a.m., Sunday, 12 to 2 a.m., Sunday if brunch is served, 10:30 to 2 a.m., New Year's Eve, Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 a.m., and New Year's Eve, Sunday, 12 noon to 5 a.m. That's what everyone else has.
And so my inclination would be to allow this establishment to have operate by the same rules that everybody else does in town.
That would be my recommendation. In fact, if our ordinance doesn't speak to it, I think the condition should be removed.
Okay, but when this was granted, this transfer of license, he agreed to these conditions, okay? And there were a lot of discussions about it. And I'm not saying let's not find some flexibility here. We're in a tough economy. I mean, to increase commerce in different ways helps keep people employed. And I will say this, that a lot of the things that were said, because I was up on the council for those meetings, he presented himself well, and what he said he would do, he did. So I'm very comfortable with his track record of what he presented. A lot of things that were said were assumptions and worst case scenarios, and they really haven't come about. I would like to know, as a fact, though, that there have been no occurrences out there. I mean, I've heard it said a couple times that the police haven't been there and there has been no complications.
The clerk's office has no reports of any instances at the Hungry Quail.
It's good enough for me. I could see extending. I can remember sitting up here and part of it being that it was near some residences, which made it a little bit different. Me personally, I wouldn't mind extending it to 1 o'clock in the morning with last call at 12 or something like that. I don't know if I would want to, I don't know, I definitely know I don't want it open at 5 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Eve. Okay, I don't think that's
If you're going to amend the time, you're going to have to make it consistent with our ordinance.
So if we do anything,
Has to be.
Absolutely.
so it's either all or none is what you're telling me.
Exactly.
Unless the owner agrees with it? What happens if the owner agreed to amend it without us having to go all the way?
Right now, you have conditions in place, and the decision from the administrative judge and from the state all say, unless subsequently modified by the action of the Howell Township Council upon application of the licenses, and then showing of good cause to the council. So at this point, it's my not assumption. I believe that he's making his application to the council saying, I've agreed to these conditions, however, I'm petitioning to you based upon these good causes for you to lift these conditions. I've satisfied them. The smoking one, I think, is already state regulated. If you're going to change the hours of operation, and here's his good cause due to the economy, then if you're going to do it, it's got to be consistent with our ordinances.
Can I ask, how do we have to do this, by resolution or by ordinance?
By resolution. It was done by resolution initially.
So we need to have that prepared and submitted at another meeting, or we can do that tonight? If it's a resolution, we can do it tonight, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move that we rescind that condition number 1, and that we allow the Hungry Quail to operate at the hours which are provided for in other township ordinance which prior councils have adopted.
And I would move to second that.
Have a roll call. Any other comments from anybody? Roll call, please, Mrs. Woman.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Come on back to me.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
No.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
I have a,
We're removing, we just removed condition number 1. Number 1 we left.
The remainder of the conditions he's agreed upon, and our ordinance doesn't speak to that, so.
Let me tell you. I'm just not happy that there was no flexibility there.
Well, there's no language in our ordinances on 2 to 7. What Mr. Dixon has agreed upon.
No, I'm not mad at him, I'm just,
So we can keep 2 to 7 in place.
Correct.
Mr. Dixon, is that so? You have no issues with 2 to 7? Come on up. Well, somebody just said you have no issues with 2 to 7, so I would like to hear from you.
Not issues. I mean, if we get back to where this was, a lot of this was negotiated out to the concerns of the town, and just like you said, people thought we were going to bring serpents out there. So there was a lot of things. We don't have a problem with the smoking or the lighting. I mean, we built Macy's-style window displays, and it changes from season to season. I don't know if anybody's ever seen any of my displays, but they're really nice.
They're nice.
You know, they're
nice
really
place,
nice.
yeah.
It says have no neons in those windows. Well, we definitely want to put a neon in front of a nice display. We do have other product lighting, as other restaurants do, whether it be cabin or this and that, in our front windows to our dining room. But, how do I say it? When you take a look at it, it's very subjective. When we say de-emphasize a bar versus emphasize a restaurant, we do that. We've just had an experience with a banner sign we tried to do for New Year's Eve. It said, New Year's Eve celebration, no cover, no minimum, live entertainment, Luna Park Band, which is a Ramtown van out of Parkside. A $2 bill special, or first we had special New Year's Eve menu on this banner sign. Draft beer, $2, and complimentary champagne at midnight. Well, since it said complimentary champagne at midnight, and it had $2 drafts, we were denied the permit. And I can understand that, because when you read this, when you're talking alcohol, we weren't trying to promote the bar, we were just trying to promote the fact that we had a New Year's Eve celebration going on, and it's like any other place. You get complimentary champagne at midnight. Any restaurant will do that is having a celebration. So it becomes very subjective.
So what is it, all right.
So
it
we
was
could
just
put some
stated-
guidelines on,
okay.
are we allowed to advertise in our banners that we do serve alcoholic beverages?
Ms. Dixon, we just changed one.
Yes, sir.
It was just said that 2 through 7, we did not need to address. What other ones do you want us to address? Okay? I need to know specifically.
In reality, 2, that is fine.
2's
We
fine.
do that.
Don't address.
3 is fine.
3 is fine.
Well, how'd you de-emphasize the fact? I mean, we don't say bar anywhere or anything like that.
Fine.
4's fine.
4's fine. 5.
5's fine.
5's
6 is
fine.
fine. 7's fine. As long as we know what the guidelines are. It's like, when you saying you sell alcoholic beverages, is that emphasizing the fact you have a bar?
See, the problem here is, to Mr. Dixon's point, the signage is when he goes for a permit, it's an interpretation, okay?
So if we remove number 3, he wouldn't have that problem.
Well, 7.
No, 7.
Well, 3 and 7.
3 and 7, right.
Oh, because it's a banner sign and it doesn't have the illuminated with the background.
So let's put 3 and 7 together here. Anybody have any comments on 3 and 7?
My only comment would be with respect to signage, is that it complies, any signs that are hung outside or displayed, that they comply with our local ordinances.
Okay, but again, these are special circumstances, there were things that were agreed upon. Okay, and we do not have to remove them, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, we do not have to remove them, but if we remove them, It's up to the governing body.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask counsel,
Deputy Mayor Dalton, go ahead.
the word de-emphasize is so vague and subject to
know.
interpretation, and it sounds like we are asking our land use department, every time Mr. Dixon wants to put up a sign, to make a legal opinion here on, to
Yes.
interpret whether or not he's emphasizing.
You're absolutely correct.
I mean, I have my own thoughts on what emphasis is versus what's not emphasis. Certainly, it doesn't say in this ordinance, or in this ordinance that we adopted, a resolution, I'm sorry, it was resolution. It doesn't say he shall not advertise that he sells alcohol. It doesn't say that anywhere in here. I interpret that to mean he was allowed to advertise that he sells alcohol. Can we give guidance? I mean, I understand the mayor's point. We don't want to necessarily walk away from all these conditions that were imposed, but can't we give some kind of, clarification of what this means?
Just so you know, my point was just with the hours. I wouldn't have minded extending them. I don't believe it should have, I would not vote to leave it open till 5 o'clock in the morning. That's all. So I was forced with what we have or 5 o'clock. I don't like being forced into a corner like that. When the business was open, you agreed upon those hours. I would have been okay with extending them. I would not have, I did not vote to put it till, it be open till 5 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Eve. I have personally no problem with 3 to
Only
7.
if New Year's Eve falls on a Saturday.
Okay, well, I
Yeah,
don't care, well, I
that's-
don't, all right, how
Oh,
about?
no, but
this?
I'm just
I don't care if
clarifying.
it was on the 8th day.
I'm just clarifying what it says, that's
If it
all. I'm
was
just
on the 8th
clarifying.
day, I couldn't have cared less.
My recommendation would be to lift the remainder of the conditions because they are subjective.
I'd be okay lifting 3 and 7,
Okay.
not the others.
Somebody give me a motion.
Because at night, if we lift the one at 9 o'clock at night, then we're gonna have the people from the development behind there saying they were dumping beer bottles in the dumpster at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're gonna be calling Mr. Memolo at home because he's the new guy.
Okay, number 2 is regulated by the state, smoking.
We're only talking about 3 and 7.
So we can't even speak to that.
We don't need to touch it, it's already there.
He doesn't want to touch those other ones.
I
He's
know.
asking for relief on 3 and 7. Is
I-
that correct?
Yes, but I also, I know Ms. Kingdon's point about, if you look at number 3, and some of the other parts to the other sections, you're going back to, again, subjective interpretation on,
Not if we lift them.
no, some of the other ones is what you're speaking about. And you're looking at, as a total, all of these conditions are focusing on the family atmosphere of the restaurant. Certainly, if you go into the establishment, it seems to me that that's to me what it appears. And I think that he's done a very good job in doing that in the times I've been there when they're with my children. It seems like it is a family atmosphere. However, this number 7, I agree, it's just, how can you possibly regulate or make that determination? And it could be in the eye of the beholder. So I would vote that it would be lifted as well.
Mr. Mayor, I just think it's unfair to expect that our employees are going to have to make an interpretation every time Mr. Dixon needs to do something. And so I would move to lift conditions, all the subjective conditions. So that means lift all of them, number 2 through 7, because council is telling us that it's cleaner and it's more efficient that way. That's the motion I would make.
I would definitely not be agreeable to that. I'll be okay with 3 and 7.
All right, then
but
I'll
that's
amend
it.
the motion.
I mean, the other ones are
Fine.
subjective. It says no, put a sign up that says no smoking. There's no subjectivity to that.
But the law, but what the point is that we all know what the law is on smoking.
I'll amend the motion to just remove 3 and 7.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Are we done with this one, folks?
When will the lifting of those restrictions go into effect?
Oh,
You can do it
now.
Right now, it's resolution.
So we could go there after the council meeting? Just kidding.
No, we'll be fine.
Just kidding.
Don't be catch you empty in the garbage.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
God bless you, sir. Good luck. And it is a fine family
Passed it, but we'll
establishment.
memorialize it. You could pass it tonight, and we'll memorialize it. We'll have it on paper for you on the 3rd.
I will be told about it.
Last one, 785 clothing bins.
Do that with Maureen.
Mr. Slagle?
This is the state's attempt to regulate these clothing bins that you find in, like Acme, ShopRite, wherever. You're permitted to charge a fee for them. You have to get a permit, so that, I think the impetus behind it was so that these nonprofit organizations had to register with the town, and we knew they have to have signage on the dumpster that says, here's where our organization is, here's the address, here's the contact information, so that it's not some fly-by-the-night organization, and your donations aren't then being sold for a profit.
Okay.
That is legitimate.
And what is the fee?
$25, I believe. And I think that's in the ordinance.
Right, not to exceed.
And we had nothing on the books here about these clothing bins?
No, actually, it took effect January 1st of '09.
Okay. Glad to see you right on top of it. Seems like no grass is growing under her feet. Okay. Anybody else on this one?
Nope.
I'm fine. Do we need
I
to-
just have one question. Is there a limit to how many of these bins can be on a piece of property?
There isn't anything in the regulation that says they're limited to a certain number of bins on a property. I would imagine that whoever owns the property that you're placing them on, they may have some restrictions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Dalton.
Will we have to adopt provisions in our municipal court law with regard to fines and such? Because I look at the model language, and the fine is pretty hefty for, say, a charity that doesn't know this law exists and gets caught. All I see in here is $20,000 is the fine. And I know, Mrs. Fighting Group is out there, I know that that can't possibly be. And I think our maximum allowable fine is $2,000.
You know what, it's probably a typo, somebody added a 0.
Okay.
Here's deal to raise revenue.
Keep it down out there.
But it's just a rather large fine, and I'm all for generating revenue, but I think that 20,000 would really upset DARE or
But is
American Cancer Society.
Is that up to 25,000? Because most of those penalties, is it 20? I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Is
but
it?
our ordinance says up to $2,000.
Okay.
That's the state tax.
Okay.
Why don't, just a suggestion, why don't you lawyers hack it out over tea? Okay?
T. Thank you.
Over tea. All right, a little something.
Yes.
February 3rd.
Okay.
And I believe there is a waiting period. They don't get a fine.
Let's go over to 981. Introduction of ordinance. Oh.
It's you.
Let me go find. Need a member of the council.
May I make a motion to introduce ordinance number 0-09-1 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in the 12309 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 2/17/09 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Mrs. Bowman?
An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, authorizing the leasing of real property in the Township of Howell pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-13.
Have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. 982, salary ordinances. Can I have a member of the council, please?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-09-2 on first reading by title and to order that same be published in full in the January 23rd, 2009 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on February 17th, 2009 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Do I have a second?
I would second.
Mrs. Bowman, if you would.
An ordinance setting forth and adopting salary range schedule for the salaries for certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
So I'll give a roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. 983, land use to amend ordinance 0-08-48. Member of the council, please.
May I make a motion to introduce ordinance number 0-09-3 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in the 12309 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of an introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 2/17/09 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Mrs. Bowman, if you would.
I have to add, in the amendment to the sewer ordinance, in,
What's that?
We're not there yet.
We'll get there.
We're on 983. An ordinance
983.
of the Township Council of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, amending the definition provisions within ordinance number 0-08-48, establishing certain escrows for professional fees associated with municipal review of proposed developments which include affordable housing components.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. 984. Ordinance adjusting the Howell Township sewer rates. Yes. Ms. Schlegel.
Ms. Kingdon?
you had that?
We have it on our packet.
Okay. The, in section C
In
of the
section
ordinance,
C. Yes?
there's a provision missing that reads, a unit is defined as consuming 75,000 gallons of water per year. Each separate establishment shall, in minimum, equal 1 unit. In the event that the water consumption exceeds the aforesaid 75,000 gallons per year, the minimum charge shall be $9.71 per 1,000 gallons of water consumed in excess of the aforesaid amount. That provision is in subsection B and is in subsection D.
Yes.
Okay.
It didn't find its way into subsection C, and should be.
Okay.
So what do we need to do to fix that?
It's only first reading, so you can introduce it
Okay.
I'm just making sure.
with that inclusion.
Mr. Filiazzo, would you like to comment?
Normally, what we do in cases like this, with your knowledge, we introduce it. It is published with the proper wording, so that you can have the public hearing as scheduled.
And so,
I'll email it to Penny tonight.
okay, but in order to have no surprises here, can I ask, and can it be stated for the residents, how much is the sewer going up a year?
It's just slightly over 13%, 13.1.
Dollar-wise?
$20 for residential and a quarter. It's $21 for commercial.
Okay.
So that's an extra $80 per year per resident that uses the sewer.
Yes.
Okay. So we have the reading? We need to do a roll call?
We haven't reading yet.
Okay.
I think Mr. Howell was about to do that.
All right, member of the council.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-09-4 on first reading by title and order the same to be published in full in the 12309, issue the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 2309 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Mrs. Wallman, if you would.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 252-22 Sewer and Water, Article 2, entitled Sewer Utility as it applies to sewer user charges.
Could I have a roll call, please, Ms. Wallman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Do we have anything else this evening?
No, Mayor.
Members of the governing body? Mr. Filiatro? Yeah, I'll read them after.
Mr. Mayor, we have to wait for the Finance Committee?
No.
No?
Well,
We already went through it all. There was, for members of the audience, we did go through the finance. We went through it page by page. We're making a couple minor adjustments. If there's any other adjustments that you'd like to see be made, please feel free to make some adjustments. The manager can present it to us at the next meeting. What?
she's going to do that with references to each of our code sections, is that right?
Correct.
We've already suggested some changes to be made, and we gave thanks for our fine ordinance review and finance review committees, all the hard work, and we appointed a new finance review committee tonight with our new liaison, Councilwoman Clark, and I will even attend the first meeting myself. I've asked the manager, Mr. Slagle, to attend. She already informed me that she'd be ill that evening. Or Councilman Howell informed me she'd be ill that evening. And,
She has the bird flu, I'm telling you.
So, I've enjoyed my first meeting as mayor. God bless our new president. Barack Obama got sworn in today. Looking for a lot of good things from him through the years. We have a new president of the United States. I'm sure that all Americans are behind him. With that, our next meetings, we have a workshop meeting Tuesday, February 3rd. Executive session will be at 6:30, regular session at 7:30. Then we have a regular meeting Tuesday, February 17th. Again, executive session at 6:30 and regular session at 7:30. With that, all in favor? Closing the meeting?
Motion to close.
We don't need a motion to close. We had this fight already.
Oh.
We had this fight already. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. God bless Howell Township.
She lost that fight.